If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. It must just be a mere coincidence that this Travis Scott event occurred at Astroland or Astroworld, whatever his big concert is. One of the things right off the bat that I want to tell you is that it also occurred on the same day of his ex-mother-in-law, but he's connected to the Jenner Kardashian cult. It was her 66th birthday. Wow. That's kind of crazy, right? Her 66th wild karaoke birthday bash while Kylie attended Travis Scott's tragic Astroworld show. So you have that, and then of course you have connections to Astroworld in general, but I'll get more into the Kardashians later in the video and the connections to them, because they are the highest ranking witches in Hollywood. They have surpassed people like Madonna. The family is so intertwined in the Armenian bloodlines that it's amazing to me that people don't see it. But I'm sure that's a mere coincidence that on her 66th birthday bash, because that number is not significant, that we had all of this go down. And again, let's look at Astroworld. That he holds it every year. I've covered it before because one of the years Kanye West and Marilyn Manson became best pals there, so to speak, at least in front of the camera for people to see. And this is when Kanye was first coming out telling everyone that he was the world's greatest Christian and that he was doing Sunday service and he was saved, even though his entire career is about mocking Jesus with Yeezus. And of course, Jesus walks. People thought he was Christian because of that. He's going on covers of Rolling Stone wearing the crown of thorns, stuff that's just a mockery to God. But anyway, this is interesting that I'm covering this, and it's not just because a lot of you demanded it. It's actually because I was working on a video covering what they're starting to do with virtual concerts in the metaverse. Now, how does this tie in? Well, I'll explain it to you, and I'll explain in Travis Scott's ties to the occult, the Illuminati, Satanism, through his music and his songs and through his relationships with people like the Kardashians. So where should I start? I'll start with the event that occurred. If you didn't hear, there was some type of stampede, people, kind of so many people at a concert that they were just squished each other and people got trampled, which of course is tragic in its own right. Things like that can obviously happen. But I think we live in a world where we realize when Satanists are involved, you can either look at them as hoaxes or rituals, or in some events, false flags. Now, in this case, there's not enough video, at least now, to show, and obviously here on YouTube, we can't talk about things being real or fake. We could just go with at least the narratives that we see. Well, here's where I'll start. Here's a guy who releases a song and an album on the same day in the last 24 hours called Escape Plan. So you say, escape plan, interesting. Now, what have I been talking about recently? The escape plan, the elites escaping underground, escaping to the virtual realm. Well, this was what I was working on before this event happened. This is his virtual concert. Him, Drake, all of these celebrities are now beginning to do this. This is a virtual concert that they're holding. You might say, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Well, what is going on right now with the outbreak? How distant are we seeing people become? Not just social distancing with the 6 feet. People are becoming distant, and more hateful and resentful towards each other, which of course is biblical. People in the end times, people are going to hate one another, despise one another. And really what we're seeing is a disconnect between humanity and one another, and a connection with technology. People are more connected to their phones and technology, right? So since the outbreak has happened, there have been multiple things that have occurred at concerts, especially, obviously, even before the concert, the event in Las Vegas, which occurred at a concert. They are preparing people to not be interacting in public anymore in spaces like this. And you might say, well, that's a crazy way to look at this entire event. I want to know if this is a ritual or not. Well, let me get into the ritual part after. Let me start with what I was talking about with these virtual concerts. Travis Scott is already known for his Fortnite Travis Scott virtual concert, which was watched by millions. This occurred in 2020. Drake is doing the same. They're telling these people to go into the virtual realm and perform their concerts, which means that humans aren't there interacting with each other. Now, one of the ways they can get people into the virtual realm is by scaring them from being out in actual reality, hanging around people, being near people, because it's so dangerous and scary out there. We have bang bang events that occur at concerts like Las Vegas. We have tramplings that occur like at this event. And again, that's part of how they're going to work people into the virtual realm. Now, his escape plan thing has to do with the virtual realm. The escape plan. What do you think he's talking about? He's looking to escape his relationship. Is that what he'll tell you? I got to get out of my escape plan. You know, you call this stuff music. I don't know. I mean, music in general is witchcraft and spellbinding anyway. I can't support any music, and I don't even think I can't remember the last time I listen to anything. It's been a long time, but obviously that's another story for another day. But here's another thing that ties into it with escape plan is this cover. This is the cover that he's using for his thumbnails, and I'm not sure if it's the album cover or not, but on YouTube, this is the thumbnail that he's using for his songs, his audio tracks, which usually is the album cover. It might not be. So it says, Weekly World Truths. The true dystopia is here. Okay? And the dystopia, okay, you know what the dystopia means? An imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice. Typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic, right? So while you have him working and pushing the metaverse, this fake virtual world that they're trying to create, that they're trying to connect people to, that has to go with transhumanism, you have him with his album cover talking about dystopia, which has to do with totalitarianism and a post-apocalyptic world. This is the cover. Then you have this demonic, you want to call it reptilian, vampirian, whatever the word is for these losers. Demonic. Let's just call it this demonic thing there, right? And what does it say at top? Who knows what lies beneath the surface, right? A lot of us have been covering, obviously, the bunkers, the underground bunkers, and a lot of you have been commenting because a lot of you are extremely smart and knowledgeable. That's why I love having you guys here on the channel and on the website talking about how these things are going back where they belong, underground, right? And then at the bottom, when the end arrives, it's really the beginning. Because when the end arrives, was talking about the end times, these people are attempting to escape it. And it's going to be the beginning of a new dystopia / utopia where these people live in a virtual realm, where they're uploading their minds, where they're using things like the Neuralink, which we constantly hear Elon Musk and all of these people talk about, and prepping people for TED Talks and everything else, getting them ready. Obviously, the technology is here. Now it's just about getting people prepared. So when events like this happen, you look at it from multiple angles, right? Right? You see the guy, he throws up devil horns. He's obviously a Satanist. He has a child with Kylie Jenner who was at the concert. The baby was at the concert. Kylie Jenner, okay, the Kardashian family is the most occultic family in Hollywood. That's why they're the richest and the most known. You can look at every one of them and you can see a connection. You can start with the mother, if you want to call it that, Kris, right? The OJ trial, very well connected to OJ. And obviously there's a lot of conspiracies about that. You have Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner now, right? Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner got in that car accident right before the transformation, right? Wink, wink, transformation, trigger word that everyone should be aware of, turning into Caitlyn Jenner, sacrificing many people. Lamar Odom with the situation that he went through with the other sister, Khloe. And then we have Kim, of course, connected to many things. And Khloe, of course, connected to even miscarriages and things like that. And then Kim connected to Kanye. And the two of them being the face of this, oh, well, they're pretending and playing the role of being Christians and Republicans, right? She's hanging out with Trump, working people over like Kanye is to try to get people on board with this Antichrist acceptance that people are going to fall for. So this family is a high-ranking Armenian witch family. I've been covering it for a long time. Her with the vampire facials, eating the placenta on her TV shows. Even yesterday I covered it with the desensitizing, prepping people for the bunkers and them going underground and living in bunkers, right? And then you look at this guy and you see, wow. And then he's got him, his music video that comes out that day has just individual eyeballs on it, right? And it says Utopia, right? And he's got 1, 2, 3. He's got 3 all-seeing eyes and an upside-down pyramid on his shirt. The song came out the same day. What else do you see in the song? You see a massive ritual circle. He's standing there on a hilltop with his dogs, or somebody's dogs, right? There's 6 dogs, another number, inside of this circle. You can see around it. This isn't just some hilltop, and this circle is not an electric fence. It is a circle. It is a ritual circle. They probably up here on the rooftops perform many, many ritual sacrifices. Okay, this actually, when I see this, it reminds me of the McMartin stuff. When Ted Gunderson showed the actual images of the house that got burnt to the ground, that was up in the mountains. It was so high up in the mountains that you couldn't see it. You couldn't see all of the the sigils and the magic ritual circles that were there, and he had to fly up there. You couldn't even drive up to it. You had to take a helicopter up. That's what it reminds me of, because they're so high up. Look how high up there. Now, I don't know if this is this guy's house or it's just some place that they go to perform rituals, because there's many houses that are out in the Hollywood Hills and in many other places where they just perform rituals. That's what they're for. They're there. Millions of $1 million homes that just go unoccupied and only used for rituals. And they show up there for the meetings and the rituals. And again, you look at the event that occurred, okay? You look at him, you look at the symbolism, you look at the family relations, you look at the Great Escape, you look at the cover of that, and then you hear a story about people being oh my goodness. They were in such close, so close to each other. And of course, the narrative that comes out of it, for one, is, well, they're not social distancing, right? They'll push that with Texas. They're not social distancing. Everyone's cluttered together. And also to continue to keep people distant from one another. This virtual world only exists with humanity distant away from one another. If people were close with one another and in sync with one another, nobody would want to go to a virtual realm. Everybody would realize the stuff they say on the news about race and everything else is made up. But they believe what they see. They believe what they hear. They need humans distant from each other. And then to go to this virtual realm where this guy comes up with Great Escape. He has all this stuff about a utopian, dystopian society or post-apocalyptic society, while he is one of the faces for this movement to get concerts offline, online, into the virtual realm of worlds like Fortnite, eventually the metaverse, or as most of you pointed out, the death world. What is it? Metaverse, the deathverse, right? It's all right in front of us for you to see. Now, I can't tell you was anyone harmed or anything. I have no idea. And I wouldn't have any idea of knowing, because you can only see the footage they show, and then you could speculate on it, which is a lot of the stuff most of us have done over the years. You could see the people involved who get interviewed afterwards, but we can't talk about that stuff here. To me, the message of this is the things that I mentioned to you, what they're trying to do. The next big movement for them with this, because this outbreak has caused humanity to distance themselves from one another, is to get everyone away from each other and get everyone virtual, and to live in this dystopian virtual reality, which will be totalitarianism. So those are my takes on it. I was working on something with Drake and these other celebrities who are pushing this. And this is just a narrative that's going to come of it. Is it dangerous for people? What do you think people think when they hear this? When they hear of people getting trampled, they think, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to go to a concert. That's the first thing they think of. That's the very first thing. So people are afraid to go to concerts, go to sporting events, go places where people are going to be close and interact. It gets them distant from one another. Social distancing. The stuff that they're doing now has to do with humanity distancing from one another and then turning on one another, which is what we see with the left, right, and everything else. So that's my take on it. I've showed you him, devil horns, everything else, his connection to the Jenner Kardashian clan, and you could take that for what it's worth. And you might say, well, how could they do something like that, or make something up or anything like that? Well, we know that the Soroses and all these people plant people in crowds for events. You don't think that they can do something? Oops, I pushed the person down. How would you could say that anyone was guilty with all those people? We saw what they did on January 6th at the Capitol. planting people inside of a movement that was, just older people, not older, but many mixed people. But you saw the actual footage of people just holding up signs and stuff and on megaphones. And then you saw people suddenly turning into Spider-Man, climbing buildings when a caravan arrives and people jump out of it. No, wow, can't believe it. Could that be plants? No, couldn't be. The end game for them is divide and conquer. And it has more to do with just dividing us between the left, right. It has to do with dividing humanity, separating humanity from one another. So that's my take on this. I know a lot of you wanted me to cover it. I'm not covering it because it's trending, and I'm not covering it because I felt forced to, because when people asked me at first, I was like, I'll look at it. I looked into it. But, because I was working on this thing with the virtual realm, I started thinking about people and crowds and groups, right? Because that's one of the agendas with the outbreak. It's the separation of humanity. And of course, these people that he's connected to, the signs, the symbols, the shirt in the video, the Great Escape coming out the same day. And of course, once again, like I said, that cover that they're using, and don't forget the ritual circle, the true dystopia is here. When the end arrives, it's really the beginning. And that's what this virtual world is going to be. And who knows what lies beneath the surface. Well, they show some demonic version of himself. Interesting stuff. So take it for what it's worth. I wanted to cover it for you because a lot of you wanted me to. And again, because I was already working on something with the virtual realm and concerts and things like that, and it fits right into the narrative when you think about it. So hope that helped. Hope that you at least found it interesting. Maybe you can gauge further into it if it's something that interests you. But hopefully some of these thoughts maybe gave you some ideas of what they could be trying to tell you. So thanks for being here, everybody. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families.